And there is nothing more rewarding for our people, I think, than
Mm-hmm.
feel like they're in control of their own destiny, and that when you put your head out down on the pillow at night, you
Mm-hmm.
don't have to be having these nightmares and wake up in a panic attack about
Mm-hmm.
where you're going to get the money from to pay this bill or pay the mortgage, and which bills you're not going to pay in order to pay the mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
So these are, particularly I mean, it's true of any time, I think, but particularly in the last couple of years where we've had this significant increase in inflation. We've had these rate increases driven by the US's efforts to control their rate of inflation, um, and that translating into significant mortgage increases for Caymanians. I know I have many Caymanian friends who have, their mortgage payments have gone up by $1,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
That is a huge challenge uh,
Absolutely.
for many of them.
Yep.
Um, I've talked to the banks. I'm going to get on more to some of the discussions around that, but just in relation to this point, I've talked to some of the banks, and they're telling me, well, we haven't really seen a decline in the performance of our mortgage portfolio. Meaning, they're saying they haven't seen um, an increase in late payments or an
Mm-hmm.
increase in defaults. But in my view, that is only a question of time,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think people will try their best for as long as they can. But
Yeah.
these rate increases, it's down to a quarter point increases now, but
Mm.
each one is just piling on top of the other one. We've had 10 increases in the last, 12 months or so. And it has made it very difficult for our people. So,
Absolutely.
so so it's critical, I think, for us to be able to provide these programs that can help to assist our people to understand how they have to how they can manage these issues of
Mm-hmm.
their personal finances and their budgets. And honestly, it takes tremendous discipline. um, but once you learn how to and you can apply the discipline, we have really fantastic success stories for Caymanians that are willing to stand up and say, not only this is my story and this is my success, but I want to come out and help teach this as well. So fantastic stuff. We're looking to roll that out across the country to get that benefit out to as many Caymanians as possible.
All
Um,
right. Can we take a
getting
few
right.
questions? Can we do a few viewer questions?
Can I just say very quickly? I wanted to get back to this interest rate issue.
Mm-hmm.
I am over just about, I think about a year ago, maybe a little bit more. I met with the banks, the Bankers Association, and the Bankers Association represents, and the board and their representatives, I think, represent all of the retail banks in Cayman. I at the time took along two colleagues, including the Minister for Financial Services, my colleague, Minister Andre Banks. We had a meeting with the Bankers Association, and the request was simple: look, do what you can to help our people. We know that we're in a situation where we're going to be facing an environment of rising interest rates. You know, consider, and we would like you to do this, delay the time period in which you um, switch these interest rates. Don't do it immediately just because the US Federal Reserve has increased the rate by 75 basis by 0.75% or 75 basis points. Don't just do that with no notice to our people. At least give some notice and say, we asked for up to 3 months. To be honest, I would have been happy if they'd even come back and said, "Okay, we'll give a month's notice," because what that would allow is it would allow people to understand this is a reality that I'm facing. In a month's time or in 3 months' time, my interest rate is going up that I'm paying on my mortgage, and that means that my mortgage amount, the actual dollars are going to increase, it gives them time then to make adjustments in other areas of expenditure that they may have settled on. Um, they'll know that they'll have to, reduce um, the amount of their, for example, their gym membership or something. I mean, they might have to find some other alternative. They may need to go to the track and go walking around there for free rather than going on a treadmill in the gym, or similar types of issues like that, where you have to balance your expenditures. Right now, what happens is the Fed meets, they announce a rate change, and by the next day or within 2 days, our local banks have changed the rates and increased it, and it starts having an immediate impact on our people, and our mortgage holders here. And we've asked them, please give us some time. The response then was, no, we don't think that this is going to hurt Caymanians. We don't think that it's necessary to do this. But clearly, the last 12 months have demonstrated that there's a lot of pain that has been imposed on Caymanian families with mortgages. And we've asked them again, please consider this. We want you to give our people an opportunity to have advance notice of this and to make some adjustments. Again, they've come back and they've said, they're not interested in doing this. But I can tell you that in other overseas territories, and I'm going to take Bermuda in particular, some of the same banks that operate here in Cayman and that are operating in Bermuda, they do not, and it's not a question of Bermuda law, but they take a different approach there. And in some cases, they have provisions in their mortgage documents that provide that, or that specify that the rate won't be changed without 3 months' notice. And certainly, what happens there as well is that they don't react directly to the Fed Reserve rate change in the in the US. So if the Fed announces a half of a 1% increase, they don't turn right around and issue in a day or two notice an increase in the prime rate in Bermuda. And I don't see why the banks here can't at least be responsive to a request to consider delaying or giving advance notice of these rate changes, so that people at least have the opportunity to make some adjustments. So that is going to be an ongoing conversation, and I have said to them that we are going to. I'm not finished. I've just recently had a response from them last week, and I'm going back at them again because I think that they can do more in this high interest rate environment to help people. I don't buy the idea that they're not seeing difficulties with our people, because I know I have constituents and I have friends who are telling me, and I know exactly what the challenges are. These rates have caused significant increases in mortgage payments, so we've got to deal with that, and we've got to see if they can assist giving people a break on that. I think there's also the question of what has developed in years past, when there was a really low interest rate environment, and basically since the global financial crisis in 2000, late 2007, 2008, and then 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, we had interest rates that basically came down because the world was trying to stimulate activity. So we had a low interest rate environment. The banks at that period in time were looking at ways to raise additional money, make money, because interest rates were so low, there wasn't much opportunity for them to make a significant margin on their lending activities. So they increased fees for all sorts of little things here and there, to try to make it up. Now that there's a high interest rate environment, I would like to see some sort of adjustment on some of these fees, because the banks are making a lot more money these days given the high interest rate environments. They're making a lot more money, and they're certainly the money that they pay on deposit rates to savers is not going up anywhere near at the rate that the prime rate for lending is going up.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see some good faith. I want to see some efforts to reduce some of these costs that our people, that are suffering every day when they're going in and trying to deal with the banks and a variety of different things. Let's have some adjustments.
Yes.
You know,
What sort of before we have a call in the line and a few questions coming in, but can the government realistically, other than just talking to them, is there anything the government can do to put the pressure on? Like,
well, I mean, we don't. Our Cayman Islands Monetary Authority is a regulator
Mhm.
of the banks, but they don't have central bank functions. So we don't have direct monetary policy control. It's a bit of a sort of a hybrid system where we're regulating, but we're not. We don't have a central bank um, that basically helps to fund the banking operations in Cayman and can control and lend on concessionary terms and this sort of thing. So it's not. It's one of those situations where we don't have the same degree of control, and it's not likely to happen. But we can certainly, and we have examples in other places where um, there's a direct analogy that they're not doing the same thing there. They're not doing the same thing in Bermuda. So why do we have to insist on taking this approach in Cayman, where people are suffering? I hear the stories from the banks that they're not seeing a decline, but up to last night I had a constituent call me and say, look, my mortgage has gone up. Mortgage payment has gone up by $1,000. $1,000 a month is a huge cost
That's a lot of
increase
money.
for any family, right?
Absolutely.
So let's be honest. Sorry, go ahead now. I think you had some
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah, and to that point, before we take the caller, this person says that I'm paying my mortgage so that I don't lose my house, but I'm eating ramen noodles daily.
Yeah,
So is that
exactly. Those are the kinds of compromises that people are having to make.
yeah.